Experts say that a dispute between the US and Saudi Arabia over oil production and Washington's diminishing influence in the Middle East gives China a chance to expand its regional footprint. Last week, the 2022 session of the Future Investment Initiative, commonly known as Davos in the Desert, was held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It brought prominent policymakers, CEOs, investors, entrepreneurs, and emerging business leaders to discuss the future of international investment and the global economy. No U.S. government official attended the event, but that was because none were invited. When asked about the non-participation of anyone from the U.S. administration ahead of the event, FII Group CEO Richard Attias said they decided so that the event did not turn into a political platform. The Davos in the Desert has further exposed the divergences between the United States and Saudi Arabia. Tensions have been apparent between the two for quite some time, and the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has exacerbated them. While Washington has insisted on sanctioning Russia for its special military operation in Ukraine, Riyadh has maintained good relations with Moscow, which has irked the Joe Biden administration. It was further displeased with OPEC members deciding at their ministerial-level conference at the beginning of October to cut their crude oil production by 2 million barrels daily compared with August, despite U.S. President Joe Biden urging them to increase output during his visit to Saudi Arabia in July. And Saudi Arabia knows where the opportunities are. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince and Prime Minister, Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, expressed his country's desire to join BRIC earlier this month, which is regarded as adjusting its previous oil for security strategy that aligned it with the U.S. The Future Investment Initiative also exposed the divergences between the U.S. business community and the Biden administration. Even without the participation of any official representatives, as many as 400 U.S. executives attended the event upon invitation. Among them were J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, Blackstone CEO Stephen Schwarzman, Bridgewater founder Ray Dalio, and Goldman Sachs CEO David Salman, who shared a stage on Monday. Despite the global recession, the International Monetary Fund has estimated Saudi Arabia's economic growth will be 7.6% in 2022, which is an attractive cake for U.S. investors. Turning to BRIC signifies recognition of a global community that is forming outside of the established Western one dictated by the U.S. Saudi Arabia has signaled that it is no longer tied to Washington's apron strings. Under the self-serving manipulation of financial and commercial controls, it applies to secure its advantages. U.S. politicians should be reminded that in this way, they are turning many friends into adversaries. This relationship was founded on a simple set of premises. The U.S. would provide military support to the kingdom. In exchange, the Saudis would provide the U.S. with their oil. Except for the Arab oil embargo in 1973, the arrangement has functioned smoothly, though signs suggest this long-standing relationship is now in decline. To understand the decline in the relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, we have to go back to the early 2000s. When oil prices rose due to a booming China, increased demand saw the commodity rally from about $45 a barrel in 2000 to 2003 to a peak of $189 in 2008. This run-up in oil prices made more expensive production methods such as horizontal drilling and shale fracking profitable, especially in the U.S., which despite a strong reputation for environmental friendliness, invested heavily in this technology during the Obama administration. This led to an increase in U.S. crude output from 5 million barrels per day in 2008 to more than 11 million today, and in 2010, for the first time in over 50 years, the U.S. became a net exporter of oil. The Saudis were not pleased with their biggest customer becoming a significant competitor. They refused to cut production as prices declined, and the ensuing price war led prices to fall below $45 a barrel in 2016. Then Barack Obama signed the Paris Agreement, committing the U.S. to a transition to renewable energy. This decision threatened to have significant ramifications for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which generates the vast majority of its foreign exchange earnings from exporting oil. The election of Donald Trump did little to improve the situation. His insistence on U.S. energy independence and unsubtle threats towards the House of Saud is unlikely to have gone down well in Riyadh. Trump told King Salman that the House of Saud would not last more than 2 weeks without U.S. military support and claimed oil cartel OPEC was ripping off the rest of the world. Trump was at least willing to overlook what the current administration considers a host of human rights abuses. President Joe Biden, on the other hand, insisted during his election campaign that he would make Saudi Arabia pariah, directly blaming the Saudi leadership for killing journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Biden also instructed the FBI to release documents requested by the families of 9/11 victims, a bold departure from his Democratic Party predecessor, Obama, who vetoed a 2016 bill seeking to allow the 9/11 families to sue the Saudi government. This was all unfolding against the backdrop of global coronavirus lockdowns. Biden and the Democrats championed these lockdowns more enthusiastically than Trump's Republicans. They only confirmed to the Saudis that the incoming administration had abandoned decades of discrete diplomatic norms and disregarded the kingdom's primary economic interests. The price of oil dropped below $0 to as low as -$37 on futures markets due to the cost of storage being higher than the price anyone was willing to pay for a barrel of oil. Biden's recent decisions to release crude from the U.S. strategic reserves while simultaneously asking Saudi Arabia to increase production while trying to reinstate a deal to bring Iranian oil back onto the market have proven to be further irritants. After years of low prices, the Saudis are determined to keep oil prices elevated to bolster their budget and consider Iran their greatest geographical rival. It appears the Saudis have had enough, and instead of agreeing to increase oil production as Biden requested, they have instead decided with their OPEC allies to cut crude oil output by 2 million barrels a day. This is an unprecedented snub and particularly annoying one for the Americans because this agreement was made in collaboration with Russia, a country the U.S. is attempting to isolate due to its military intervention in Ukraine. BRIC is not about great powers dictating terms to smaller nations, nor everyone agreeing about everything. It is simply a new platform for large but politically marginalized emerging market economies to work together to identify opportunities and synergies on a case-by-case basis to benefit their economic development and achieve their sustainable development goals. Due to the impact oil prices tend to have on inflation, capital allocation and global financial flows, bringing the world's biggest oil producers and consumers together under one umbrella is undoubtedly a step in the right direction. Strengthened ties between China and countries in the Middle East, with President Xi Jinping reportedly set to visit Saudi Arabia and attend summit meetings with regional leaders after securing a third term as Communist Party General Secretary, have raised the prospect of China stepping in as the U.S. pulls back from the region. Xi's anticipated visit was announced by Saudi Arabian Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan after a virtual meeting with Foreign Minister Wang Yi on Thursday. Still, it has yet to be confirmed by Beijing. The announcement came amid a U.S.-Saudi oil dispute.
Bart, this is Dr. Kaufman. He's a special kind of talking doctor.
Call me Bob. Oh, that's quite a hole you're digging.
Thanks, Bob.
You know, a hole's a great place to hide when people are fighting. Are there angry people in your house?
My dad's always yelling that Whitey's keeping him down.
I see.
You keep digging like this, you're gonna go straight through to China. If it happens, it happens.
Those inscrutable Americans. What are they up to now?
I will stop them. I am strong. I am the great humongous.
We all know you're the great humongous.
Well, I'm just saying.
Oh, you're always just saying.
Homer, is this story going anywhere?
Yes, eventually I become king of the Morlocks.
But Morlocks are from the future.
You calling me a liar?
Wait a minute, Homer. If it's true, what about all the stuff you weren't around for?
Yeah. How'd you know the Chinese were spying on you?
Well, I just naturally assumed.
That is the stupidest story I ever heard, and I've read the entire Sweet Valley High series. I am sick of you drunks and your Shaggy Dog stories.
Sorry, Shaggy.